Well, good morning. Daylight savings time. So actually it would be 4:33 if it wasn't for daylight savings time ending. And the video for today is not going to be conclusive because I'm still in the process of trying to figure things out and sort through my feelings and thoughts and everything that's going on in my world as I observe it. The title is Freedom is More Than Just a Longer Leash. Yesterday for me was more introspection and more anger at the state of human affairs. I pondered once again the things that I have experienced and witnessed in regard to the world in which I live. I read the replies on recent videos that showed the depth of mind control, including the ideas of a God that has no emotions and is not involved in the condition of men and women. I thought the idea that it seems like our controllers, yes, the family, seem willing, some of them, to give us a longer leash as long as they remain in control. I realized that even the ambassador, a man who shares much of my vision for a better world, sees the family as owning the treasures that have accumulated on earth over 1,000 years of over 10,000 years of human slavery, not realizing what to me is obvious. Those who amassed the wealth merely harvested the energy and stole the value from those they considered slaves. To me, this is unacceptable. I don't know about you, but I do not simply want a longer leash. I want freedom from the matrix of control for myself and all my brothers and sisters. As I said, I don't know that this video will conclusively resolve anything. I witness in myself that which I witness in the world, a chaotic state of affairs. Mixed up feelings, thoughts that sometimes it's hard even to connect the dots within my own thoughts. Friar Newberg, who lives in Hong Kong and is one of the regular commenters on my videos, said free will is best exercised in conditions of transparency, where people are full, he means fully informed. So much is hidden now. We must press for more honesty, more clarity, more transparency. Friar, I agree with you. That's what the OPPT was about. That's what Russo wanted. That's what I thought Swiss Indo wanted, which, by the way, I'm getting reports from various people in Swiss Indo that the whole thing is falling apart. People that have held titles and positions in Swiss Indo are resigning. And a lot of people are leaving. Many of them are seeing Swiss Indo as just another cult, a religion of hierarchical control. And as I have listened to the reports of those that have come out and talked with me, I realize that in a sense that's exactly what the family is doing. I mean, we don't need more religion. That is mind control. It is an acceptable set of beliefs and taboos that we must not violate. But those taboos are what enslave us. Not thinking for ourselves is what enslaves us. Following somebody else's belief system is what enslaves us. I don't want more enslavement for myself or for my brothers and sisters. I have looked for a way to build a bridge between the old and the new. And I have thought, well, maybe we can get a longer leash, and that will give us time. Will it? Or will it just allow the control freaks of our world, who to me are demon possessed? They are possessed of a spirit that wants to dominate. And as long as they can maintain a level of control, their domination continues. They created the monetary system 10,000 years ago, according to Anastasia, as a way of enslaving people without them realizing they are slaves. As long as they had chains shackled around their feet like a dog has a leash around its neck, as long as they had that, they realized that they were enslaved. So they created an invisible chain, invisible shackles, an invisible leash, and it's money. But money represents the accumulated value of the creativity and labor of men and women who have worked for those who control the system, who think they own everything. From our governments, which are mind control institutions, to our corporations, which are dead entities that serve the illusion, the delusion of control. But it's not freedom. It's not freedom. The laws that are on the books have within them natural law. Even the institutions have things that supposedly guarantee rights. But the system doesn't even keep its own laws as it exists. And the ambassador keeps telling me we need to allow people to still be in position to, because they know how things run. And we can't just let anarchy rule. And I've agreed with that to a large extent. But in another way of thinking, it's just a longer leash. It's just they're willing to give us a longer leash. They're not willing to cut the chains. The chains, in order to be cut, have to almost eliminate. And I know it's contrary to what I've said in the past, but almost eliminate money altogether. Because money has been used as our enslavement system. So has religion. We need to get rid of religion. We need to get rid of money. We need to get rid of the legal system that sees us as slaves, that sees us as property. We need, as Pryor says, we need more honesty, more clarity, more transparency. So much stuff goes on behind closed doors. They decide how much longer, how many more links they're going to allow in our chains behind closed doors. And some of them, like the ambassador, like the Red Dragon, I really believe that there are people, even among the elite establishment, that see that they cannot, they're going to have to give us more freedom. But do they really want to give us freedom? Not just more chains, the links in our chain. And they say, we're not ready. And I look and I say, yeah, I can see where you can say that we're not ready. But are we not ready because we've been enslaved? Because our minds have been controlled? Because our food has been poisoned? Because our air is poisoned? Because our water is poisoned? Is that why we're not ready? Are we not ready because the restrictions have been placed on us so that we're not even allowed to exercise our own will? We have to have limits to our free will. That's a violation of our rights. The only just punishment in human society is when one person uses their free will to violate the free will of others. And the people that do that the most are not little people. They are people that hold the illusion of authority. Look at it. They hire police to enforce their will against others. They steal the property of others. Speaking of which, as you know, on October 2nd, I went to a hearing to eject me and my family from the home in which I've lived since 2005. The plaintiff did not show up. Now, everybody knows that when the plaintiff or a party in a suit does not show up, it's equivalent to forfeiture of the case. That's the law. Plain as the nose on your face, right? Plain and simple to me. Now, I waited 3 weeks after filing a motion to dismiss the case. I sent in an order for the judge to sign. Friday, I called the judge's assistant, who told me the judge wrote back, "This doesn't make sense, schedule a hearing." There doesn't need to be a hearing. It's done. The plaintiff did not stand in their own hearing. They did not show up for their own hearing. Now, the court says, but there was no hearing put on the docket. So that's their loophole. It wasn't put on the docket. They didn't confirm the hearing. They scheduled it, but it wasn't confirmed. Therefore, it didn't exist and they didn't have to show up. So there was no forfeiture. Now you have to have another hearing. So it prolongs the whole thing again. They admit that the hearing is in their record. I have the paperwork, but they won't acknowledge the plain law of the matter. Just like they don't acknowledge that affidavits establish truth, because the courts aren't about truth. These are the things that irritate and irk me. And when I hear the ambassador say that we have to keep the people that know how the system works, the system needs not just restructuring, much of it needs to be torn down and something else put in its place. The courts, as they exist, cannot exist under Admiralty law. Admiralty law is a crime against humanity. It is an extortion racket. It is human slavery. That is unacceptable. And you're not going to fix that behind closed doors. You have to come out and say, this is what we're doing. There has to be arrests at very high levels, including people in the family. The family has to move out of this idea of being the owners of the world's wealth. The family has to do that at very high levels, or ultimately the family and the spiritual entities that are behind the running of the family will have to be brought down if there's any justice on this planet, if there's any justice in creation, because it's just not acceptable. Humans have evolved enough to realize and to see the chains, the mind control that have been placed upon us. And even though it's not a majority yet, it only awaits whatever the event is that triggers the mass awakening. And people realize who we are, that we are all, listen to me, all of us are sons and daughters of the same Creator. There's no separation. All the separation motifs, all the separation excuses are lies. They're lies that have kept us in bondage, bound and enslaved. I don't want that anymore. I'd rather die and leave this planet than to continue to be enslaved and to have my value, my creativity, stolen. My labor I deserve to be rewarded for what I do. And what is my reward? I can't measure it in money because I don't get money for what I do. I can't measure it in titles because I don't want titles. I don't care about those things. All I want is freedom. And that doesn't mean, for me, simply a longer leash. It means being allowed to be left alone with no one interfering in my life against my will, without my consent. Anything short of that is unacceptable. Thank you for listening. Namaste.